Hi, welcome to Full Plate. How do you know when it's time to get help for caring for an aging relative? We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about how to make healthy choices in your life to have a happier life. And finally, I've got count them, two snacks under 200 calories.
It's like I'm seeing all the blue skies, and I'm walking on the air tonight. It feels so right, and I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. Throw back a Rainier.
All right, here we are talking about something that's a really tough subject sometimes for people. A lot of women my age and older start having to care for their kids and then start having to care for their parents. And it's, what do they call, a sandwich generation situation. And what we're talking about today is, when do you need help to care for someone in your family that maybe you've been taking the full responsibility for? When do you get help? How do you get help? What questions do you need to ask? Joining me today is an elder care expert, Tamara Riggs, and you are also the owner of a Visiting Angel Senior Home Care. Is it a franchise or
It is
business?
a franchise.
Okay, and you're kind of help us get the idea of what questions we need to ask. And also we have Tim Bobolick, and you are in the situation.
I'm in the situation.
And so let's start with you. What is the situation? You've got an aging parent.
I have an 88-year-old mother that has Alzheimer's, and she just can't be left alone.
You just can't. How long of a process has it been for her?
We've been having care for now approximately about 3 years.
So in her mid-80s, you started seeing that she needed, when were you kind of, I imagine there was a breaking point where you were doing most of it and then you realized, I need help. Were you doing a lot of it?
Caring for Alzheimer's patients or people are very difficult anyhow. It's a trying situation. And when I started noticing I needed help was that when my patients were growing extremely short, and we were having more conflicts between Mom and I than were necessary.
You were frustrated.
I was extremely frustrated.
With her memory or with the things that she would do?
Constantly repeating herself, and again, it's hard to deal with people like that, and forgetting when to take her medications, forgetting when to turn off the stove. So there was a safety issue involved. And being there, trying to be there 24 hours a day or 12 hours a day, et cetera, with her was becoming impossible.
Was she living at her own home, or where was she living at that point?
Well, she started out in her own home, and then she went into a senior living center, where she was. It's like a senior living apartment.
Right, where you still pretty much are on your own.
Well, you're basically on your own. One meal's cooked for you, and but they basically perform no of the functions of living, and that's the difference between senior living and assisted living.
So you get to the point where you are arguing and you're frustrated. What were the steps that you took to push you to, okay, here's where I need some help?
Well, at first I tried to get where she was living to determine she needed more help, and then we went to some professional care or professional people dealing with Alzheimer's. And they said she needs help. And so we contacted Visiting Angels. And it became a really good situation, because not only was there care there, and I was comfortable from the safety aspect, but she had companionship. And she had companionship that somebody she was maybe more comfortable with, a lady that was maybe closer to her age. And the thing that really helped the most is they took her out of the house. They took her to her hair appointment. They took her to the store, which I had no patience to take her to the store. None at all.
I'm seeing myself and my son in about 40 years. My sons would not want to go shopping with me. So
take her to lunch, and it basically gave her a bit of a purpose and something to look forward to. And it gave me something to look forward to, because I didn't have to be there. And I don't mean that to sound like a rotten son. But
you were there, and I would think it interrupted the actual enjoyment of your relationship, because there was so much obligation and frustration and worry. And
absolutely.
I mean, you want to see your mom on Mother's Day and on Sunday when you visit, and not 24 hours a day because something's on fire all the time.
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And it's not her fault.
Are you angry with her because you tell her something that, that's the thing that I hear people say, I've said it to her 100 times, but it's not her fault. She doesn't remember, but I still have that same frustration level.
Not any longer, because it took me a while to accept she had the disease. She accepted it pretty easily.
Right.
The problem was I didn't accept it.
How is she in terms of recognizing you?
But she knows who I am, and she knows who her grandkids are. She mixes them up as to which grandkids is with which parent, which is
we
kind
all
of
do.
strange.
Yeah, but
okay?
I have two sons.
But she couldn't, if she eats lunch at 12 o'clock, at 12:30 she wants to go eat lunch.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, so
Or the reverse, never knowing that she ate at all.
that's correct.
So the stress of it is lessened now that you've got. How often do you have? Are they there 24 hours?
No,
or?
they're every day,
Okay.
and they vary in times day to day depending on weekend versus during the week and so forth and so on. Because I bring her over to the house every Sunday for dinner an extended period of time, and
Right. Just like we were saying, that's the time that is the quality time that you
Right.
want to have that interaction and not
we invite my kids over with the grandkids at that time. So
so they can spend time.
right.
All right, so let's talk about it, Tamara. When is that point? He said it was the frustration with, we're fighting more than, enjoying each other. And what do you see when people come to you? Where are their heads? Where are their emotions?
So many times that people do wait too long, and the person needs to be able to help select who they're going to have to help with their care. In Tim's case, he was great about timing, but not everybody's that way. The best time is before they get too ill, to where they can help make that selection, because with Visiting Angels, we allow them to help select their caregiver, not just for the skill level, but also their personalities. So we try to match up, their likes, their interests, and not necessarily that we can match their age, because most of our clients are elderly, but not all are. And then also their interests. So, we can interact with them, and they become a part of the family. The caregiver and the client become family.
So that's really the first bit of advice, is don't wait too long. If you think that there's a time that you're going to need it, there's not, can you come out and talk to someone if they're not sure?
It's an absolute free for almost every agency in town. You can have them to come out and talk to them and let them know what choices that they have. I can go into a home, and most of the time it's a real relief for them. Not only do we give them about our services of what we do about the light housekeeping and all the care that we can do, but we also enlighten them on other services that may or may not be free in the area. Sometimes, I go in to a client knowing that they can't afford all of the care that they need, but I can offer to tell them about other services as well. There's a VA program that's way underused and utilized because they don't know about it. But we also explain what we can do and the cost. Just for instance, a lot of people say, I can't do in-home care because of the cost.
Right, it seems like what millionaires do. Or
Right,
something.
and it's not. If you had 24-hour care, it does get expensive. But just take, for instance, if your mother needed help and you were able to do 4 hours a day for 5 days a week, you can do that for a year for under $20,000.
And that is such a nice time period. Pick the time of day that would have been the most stressful for you and take that off the plate that you've got of things you have to worry about.
Absolutely. I can go in, have the caregiver to do the laundry, make a meal, make certain that they do their medication reminders. That's very important, because they will get a lot sicker. If they're not on their regimen of their medications.
Right.
So many times too, the children are living out of state.
Oh yeah, you're in the same city, is that right?
Yes.
So that's one nice thing, but it is not always the case.
Exactly. So what we can do for that person that's living out of state, instead of them interrupting their entire life to where they don't know, what's going on with mom, they'll call and she's on her best behavior, So we can call and let them know this is the status, and maybe it is time for your mother to go to the doctor, she's had some changes, or your father, and it works out really well.
Really helps with the monitoring. Okay, so what advice would you give someone who is in the situation you were a few years ago?
I would go along with timer. Don't wait so long, and you can start slow. You can start with a couple days a week, 2 hours a day, 4 hours a day. You don't have to go to 7 days a week, 6, 8, 10 hours a day, and try to develop a pattern with the caregiver and with you, so that, especially with dementia patients, because they don't handle change very well.
So it's schedule is
As
real
do
good.
most elderly people, don't handle change very well. So kind of a crawl, walk, run strategy to get into that. And just one other point is, I retired 3 years ago about the same time this all happened, and vacations become a real problem.
Yeah.
Okay, and people like myself work a long time, so they go on vacation,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden I have this huge guilt trip.
Right, you're not enjoying yourself
About
because
going on
all you're worrying
vacation.
about is her. Right.
And the service has helped that tremendously. You can up the service while you're gone, you're in constant contact, and you can call the caregiver and say, how's mom doing?
It really makes everyone's quality of life
Much better,
Much
on
better.
both sides.
wonderful.
On both sides.
And then Visiting Angels, if people are interested in what you do they visit your website to start? Or
Absolutely, they can visit the website, they can give us a call, they can stop in our office. We'll be welcome to answer any questions.
It doesn't hurt to make that first call. And again, Visiting Angels is the service that you, it's visitingangels.com
Yes, visitingangels.com/Toledo.
/Toledo if you're in Toledo, but it is nationwide.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you so much for joining me and helping kind of get through this difficult time for people, make it a little easier by making that first call. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk to an author about making healthy choices, and not just food and exercise, lots of healthy choices with the author of One Size Fits All.